hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si G. Tonji. And now we have our legal advice from our employment attorney na si Attorney Joe Sayas.
This segment is brought to you by the Law Offices of Joe Sayas Jr., lawyers helping employees and consumers.
Thank you once again, Attorney Joe, for coming back to Kababayan Today. The last time you were here, we were talking about yung mga karapatan ng ating mga healthcare employees. Ngayon naman, pag-usapan natin itong wrongful termination and disability discrimination. Yes. First of all, what is a termination? Bakit siya nagiging wrong or illegal?
Nagiging wrongful or illegal ang termination if it's based on discriminatory intent. Ang discriminatory intent will refer to certain protected characteristics like age, race, national origin, disability, medical condition, or even pregnancy.
Pag nabuntis ka at they say, ay, you cannot do your job anymore, discrimination yon.
Pregnancy is protected, so discrimination yon.
I see.
If the termination is substantially motivated by reason of pregnancy.
I see. Okay, at ano naman itong disability discrimination?
Disability discrimination occurs when something bad happens to the disabled employee. He or she gets terminated, suspended by reason of the disability. Alam mo, ang batas pinoprotektahan ng lahat ng empleyado to keep their employment without being discriminated due to disability.
Okay, maraming klaseng disability, no?
Yes.
Pag-usapan natin isa-isa, ano ba ito?
Maraming klase, merong physical disability, merong mental disability. Can be physical, based on the physiological condition of the body, or mental condition. But either one substantially limits a person to perform a major life activity. Ang sabi ng batas, ang major life activity na yon would be like walking, sitting, reading, or even simply working. Not being able to do the work is life's or impairment of life's major activity.
Okay, so ano naman yung mga duties ng employer?
Yes.
Oo.
Ang employer should engage in interactive process with the employee. Kung may empleyado na medyo may konting disability, either physical or mental disability, kailangan malaman ng employer kung paano ba niya ma-accommodate, mabigyan ng reasonable accommodation ang employee para makapag-perform ang employee ng kanyang trabaho.
Ano naman ang example ng isang reasonable accommodation?
A reasonable accommodation, for instance, is if somebody is required to lift certain objects, like 40 pounds or 50 pounds, and nagkasakit yung employee.
Oo, kunwari yung likod niya, di ba?
Nabalian, or whatever fracture he had. Sabi ng doktor, wag munang magbigay ng lifting duties.
Miski yun yung trabaho niya.
That's correct. That's correct. That employee should be given reasonable accommodation, maybe assign siya sa isang clerical position, or bigyan siya ng few hours of work. Or maaring ang empleyado, they work overtime a lot, medyo bigyan siya ng reasonable 6 to 8 hours of work. That's reasonable accommodation.
I see. And what are the duties naman of the disabled employee?
The disabled employee should notify the employer.
Yan kasi mga kababayan, pag nagkaroon ng sakit, hindi sinasabi. Kasi nga natatakot silang tanggalin sila sa trabaho.
Yes, they are not required to disclose the actual medical condition, pero kailangan malaman ng employer na kailangan nilang either pahinga o kailangan ng accommodation. And it's always appropriate to provide that medical certificate. Halimbawa, sabihin nila, they need 2 weeks within which to recover from a surgery, for instance. Kailangan meron silang medical certificate na provide sa kanilang employer.
Yes, at nakukuha nila yon sa kanilang doktor, di ba?
That's correct. That's correct. And they can turn over this document to HR or to their supervisor.
I see. Okay, and what are the remedies for an employee who was yun na nga, tinanggal sa trabaho, illegally terminated because nga of discrimination, disability.
Maraming nangyayaring sitwasyon na ganan sa ating mga kababayan. Ang remedy nila is, of course, to consult with an experienced employment lawyer para malaman kung ano ang dapat gawin. Usually, an employee who had been a subject of disability discrimination is entitled to recover lost earnings. Yung mga sweldo niya, at dapat sweldohin niya kanyang benefits. That employee is also entitled to emotional distress damages.
Okay.
Alam mo, masakit na matanggal ka sa trabaho.
Siyempre.
You have emotional feelings as a result of that termination.
That's right.
Eh? Attorney's fees.
Oo.
The employer should pay reasonable attorney's fees so that hindi dapat gumastos ang empleyado.
I see. All right. Well, thank you so much for such helpful advice for our kababayans, no? Thank you, Attorney Joe. Ngayon naman, we will talk about when we return with you, we'll talk about the misclassification of employees as independent contractors and why misclassified as an independent contractor is generally disadvantageous for employees. Maraming salamat, Attorney Joe. We look forward to having you back on Kababayan
Maraming
Today.
salamat din, Jay.
All right, we'll be right back here on Kababayan Today.
This segment is brought to you by the Law Offices of Joe Sias Jr., lawyers helping employees and consumers.